Okay, we are back on the Ultimate Sports Network. We'd like to introduce the panel. John, introduce yourself, please. You don't ever do this. Ha! There we go.
John, I go by John J. Responding a lot more as an honor to my father, probably because we've been talking about dads a lot here before we started. So when I'm writing byline, I always have the J in there, and that's because I'm a junior, John J. Responding Jr. So yes, I write for Max Boxing and have some books out, as we know. We've discussed all that. So yeah, next, Charles.
Charles.
Thanks, John. Charles Farmer, sports reporter for like 20, at least 20 years with the Columbus Post newspaper back in the day. Then after that, people say, you know a little bit about sports. I was like, not lying. I'm just lying. I'm making up as I go. But after that, been created the Reality of Sports website. Also, doing stuff with the Goon Squad Sports Show, and also in this wonderful show. So a lot of stuff, a lot of junk, a lot of misinformation. So I'm lying to y'all. So just remember that.
My name is Larry Aquarius. I don't know. I'm the I can prance, I can dance. I'm the king of romance.
Wow.
Anyhow, this is a boxing show, and for those of you that understand anything about us, realize that we've just taken an hour and a half to not talk about boxing before we even push the record button. So understand that we are very comfortable with each other talking about stuff. So when we get into boxing, there are debates and there are love fests, and there's a lot of stuff that we get into. So let's get into it. Coming up this weekend, we've got Joe Smith Jr., which we've been waiting for the return of Joe Smith Jr. In about the, well, go ahead, John, and give us an idea, a little rundown of what this bout's going to be, or what it should be.
Well, as I told you, the fight was going to be he was going to fight Callum Johnson, and I was really looking forward to that because Callum always brings it, Joe Smith always brings it, so they were going to just meet in the middle of the ring and probably after 2 or 3 jabs start wailing at each other. So it was going to be an old-fashioned, you can see if you can take what I got, and I'll see if you can take what you or I got, whatever, vice versa. So that didn't happen. So a guy by the name of, I think his name is, I'll just call him Steve G, because I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but he's an unknown guy. I know he lost his first fight, and he's won 18 in a row since. So he's getting his Rocky moment.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, I mean, not just in the movies, but with Joe Smith, who I really like because he's all action, he can be beat. And he can punch, though, but he has flaws. He gets hit a lot. So, obviously, Joe is a big favorite. This is his first defense of his title, his light heavyweight title. He is expected to win. He should win, but it will be worth watching just because the Rocky-esque moment, right? And the fact that if Joe has maybe a little bit of a letdown, which I doubt, because he's looking at Canelo maybe this year. He's looking at Bivol again. He's looking at Beterbiev. He's got some big cash fights coming up.
There, right.
Still, I've seen him look good, and then I've seen him look like his last fight. Honestly, should have been a draw.
Yeah.
He could have even lost, and I wouldn't have complained. It was the guy who was fighting was out punching him, and no knockdowns. He was hurt a few times. So that to me it doesn't always take much for me to watch a fight, but it intrigues me because I always like the underdog, and this guy's getting his shot, and so for that reason alone, it should be fun. And it's interesting that they got it together so fast, but that was because Steve was going to fight on January 8th, and he was ready, he was primed, so he jumped in and he's taking his shot. Got to give it to him.
Give a chance, right? Now, Charles, the following week, and I'm going to let you run with this because apparently, I have said too many bad things about this gentleman, even though I don't think they were bad. It's just that I wish to see more of him. We've got Gary Russell Jr. in his annual appearance. Yeah. What do you think of this?
Well, I mean, the factor that he's fighting is a major miracle, right? We've been waiting. Keeping it real, when you're a boxing fan, you watch some guys have been on the sideline, on the shelf because of COVID, but like, is that why Gary Russell Jr. hasn't fought? That's his MO regardless, prior to COVID. So he's fighting, was it Mark Maceo? So
Yeah.
he's supposed to be a tough guy, but could really be a challenge for Gary Russell Jr. We haven't seen him in a while, don't know what's going on. The fact that he's fighting anybody is something that really people are excited about. And the way that I would say the way that the landscape for 126 to hell 140 is changing. I mean 126, 130, 135, 140, that landscape with all of these parts moving around,
right,
or the guys moving up or just moving around and younger guys coming on, I think it's really setting the stage that could, if Gary Russell Jr. continues to win, set the stage for him for some very lucrative opportunities if he wants to do them. And one would think now at this point in his career, maybe he will fight more frequently because he's always talking about he'll fight anybody. He's just waiting for the challenges. I think more people now are willing to step up and try to challenge him. The opportunity is going to be there. So, I mean, you always talked about, fighting Lomachenko again, which I think is something you always wanted to do. But there are going to be a number of other opportunities for him to fight. And I just hope that it's in his spirit and what he wants to do to accept, because I think it could make for some very interesting bouts.
I'm interested to see what kind of fighter he's going to be after he's been basically training his younger brothers. And we know that it doesn't necessarily mean that a good fighter is a good trainer or a bad fighter is a good trainer, however it works. But it's like saying, after Buddy McGirt became a trainer, I would like to see what kind of fighter, if you go back in time, Buddy McGirt would have turned into. Not that Buddy McGirt was a bad fighter, I'm not saying that at all. But when now you're starting to pick things apart and put them together for somebody else, you may see something different and more efficient in your own game. So, and it's not that Gary Russell needs to be any more efficient. It's just that I would like to see him think, I just want to see how he reacts to, okay, this is what I told my brother to do. Now I know what I'm going to do with that. So, and again, he's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but he could be even greater at this point just because he might be thinking through it a little bit more. I don't know. It's just a thought.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, I can see that too. I mean, but like you said, though, I think probably for him, from a trainer aspect, when you think about it, because his brother kind of fights, especially the one that's right up under him, his brother kind of fights a little different style.
Right.
Than he does. And I think with that being said, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I told him this way, but I'm not fighting that way.
Right.
It doesn't work for me. It may be because he may feel his brother may have a little bit more of a different skill set, or he might do something better than him. So therefore, as a trainer, that's what you do. So like, for instance, let's say, for instance, you throw a guy that can switch, back and forth from conventional to southpaw, right? Maybe you don't need to do that. You can't do that. Your forte is to stay conventional, because you mess around and try to switch over, you get your butt whooped. When the other person can do it differently, then as a trainer, it would be in your best interest to put them in the best position to be successful.
John, since you wrote the book, I'm going to ask a question I'd never thought of. When Dickie Eklund decided, or I don't know if decided, was training
Mickey Ward.
Wow, I remember the right name and not the wrong name. Yeah, Irish Mickey Ward. How much of Dickie's fighting was channeled into Mickey Ward's fighting? Or was it just go get somebody?
Well, if you remember earlier in his career, Mickey Ward was more of a boxer, and that was Dickie Eklund. Dickie was more of a boxer, and then Mickey evolved into this brawler that could take it like Gotti. He said, "That's my twin." That's what they used to say. I'm facing Jason here. I couldn't believe it, but Mickey wanted him to be more of a boxer, but Mickey was, no, I got to fight my way, and he could box more, and that's why he had the skills you would see sometimes, but he just preferred to brawl. As he got older and older, that's what he became. So yeah, no, when he was younger, sure, he was probably shadowing Dickie, his big brother, who was the star of the family, Right. Fought Sugar Ray Leonard and did very well in the amateurs. So that would be natural that you would, in a sense, imitate your brother who was doing so well. But then as Mickey got older, he discovered what he was, and the rest is history. So yeah, with the Russells, that's a good point. I know what you're going with this is I've seen one of the Russells, I think Gary Antone, is that it? Antoine, and he's very impressive.
Yeah.
And he's more aggressive than Gary Russell, Mr. Gary Russell. So he might have some of the same athletic ability, but it seems like he's got more power. So he might end up being the best. And that's a scary thought because the other brother is good too. So these guys are something else. But, you know, I remember you're talking about brothers, Sugar Ray Leonard and Roger Leonard. Muhammad Ali and Rudy, you know, Rahman Ali. The brothers usually aren't nearly as good as the star of the family. But this might change a little with the Russells because they seem to have a lot of talent. And Gary started it all since he's 33 now. So, yeah, I mean, the dad has been training all of them. The dad's been in the hospital for a while. So, for a few months, I think, no, I should say that, like a month. So that's why Gary took over, right? And I mean, you're talking some major talent here. So it's impressive.
Okay, now we were discussing the freelance part of the show because there were some things we just said, let's go. I was going to go into trainers, but you just made me hit on something. All right, Charles, here we go. I'm going to give you the first one because this is one of your favorites. You're talking about brothers who fought, and is the one as good as the other? First of all, I'm going to give you Jerry and Mike Corey. You can start there, and I'll figure out some other things. I have at least 6 of them in mind already. So we're going to talk about boxing families.
Yeah, I mean, well, you look at it. I mean, from the standpoint,
you don't have to do those. So those just I know that you like Jerry Corey, so you might have something on Mike as well.
Well, I mean, I think Mike was a tough guy. You know, Mike was kind of tough in his own right when you know enough about Mike Corey. But I mean, I like Mike, and I thought he was a good fighter. Good, as they say, when they called him, good little fighter.
Good little fighter, yeah.
But what Jerry faced, Jerry was a bad dude, man. Jerry, right. Like I said, I always say this, it sounds like a broken record. Jerry fought at a very difficult time, and he held his own. When you think about his 9 losses, really technically 8, because the last one you shouldn't have counted because
right.
Gas and he might win his right mind. When you say a dude loses 8 fights and you lose to twice to Frazier, twice to to Ali, and then you go from there, and then you still beat a aging, but it's still a major victory over Floyd Patterson. I mean, Jerry Corey was like, man, it's just damn. If he just came at a different time, his whole life would have changed. Probably would have a lot more money. He would have been a champion. A lot of stuff would have changed. But I think he said, I mean, even though, they were brothers, I think he wanted to still set the precedent for the respect of the Corey family. So, and when I talk about difference between those, I just think Jerry was just a little bit better, only because of the accolades and the accomplishments that he's able to make.
Okay, folks, if you're paying attention to this, you're going to have ones we don't get. I understand it. That's cool. Send in yours because I'm thinking of a couple different things here that I think are very interesting. Let's talk brothers. Brothers won championships. Brothers won championships in the same weight class, which is even more rare. And there's one that's sitting in my head I can't get out of my head right now, and I will by the time we get done with this. But how about Leona Michael Spinks?
Wow, that's crazy.
Both were heavyweight champions of the world. Both were gold medalists. And then, we can always throw in Corey Spinks after that as well.
Yeah, I mean, a heck of a fighting family from the standpoint, too. One thing about it was, since Leon was like the heavyweight champion, he was the heavyweight. Leon seemed with his style, he was always, I guess, pigeonholed the way that he fought, right? He wasn't the biggest guy in the world. He wasn't Joe Frazier. So he had a little bit more outside kind of moving type situation. And then, of course, he beat the great Muhammad Ali. So he set the precedent, if you will, for their family. But on the other end, the more versatile type of really flamboyant but really slick fighter was Michael. And I think that's what allowed Michael to, start at a certain weight and then move all the way up to light heavyweight and then go to a heavyweight because he had the ability to do that. I'm not so sure if Leon could have done that.
I don't think so, no.
Leon was who he was, right? Leon was Leon. But Michael's versatility, his way to be able to move, and then he was able to fight tough guys. People say, they look at him, John said this all the time about You know, people judge him because of the fight that he had with Mike Tyson. But he was a fighter, a better fighter along. He had some great things way before that. So Michael Spinks was elusive. He was a tough guy when he had to be. And he was very impressive because he was a thinking man too. So, you know, even though he's going there and brawl with the Dwight, Dwight Kwawees, Muhammad Kwawees and whatnot in there, he just had a slickness to him. You're like, oh man, he gonna get beat up. You're like, no. But I just said that. But it also showed you though, too, the two of them, Michael and Leon on the 76 Olympic team, man, that was magic. That was magic.
And let's not forget, again, you throw in Corey Spinks and you go, wait a second. There's another one? Yeah. The son of Leon, nephew of Michael, was middleweight, welterweight, and you think, and we always get this, and this happens often. There are guys that have been champions, have been very good, solid champions that we just kind of forgot about, and Corey Spinks is one of those guys. It just kind of went, well, yeah, a guy that was one of the best fighters in the world for a few years. We just kind of forget about him. I'm going to throw another one at you for the father-son one, and I know he was adopted, but still, yet Floyd Patterson and Tracy Harris Patterson.
Yeah.
We just went, okay, he was great, and then we forgot he was there. And but how did that happen? Because I think we're so enamored on the new, we forget about the guys that were really good for a certain amount of time, and then we moved on to the next one, and they weren't, Hall of Fame, world-class kind of guys. He's kind of let them go. But, it's interesting to look at these families, and I know we can go with the Mayweathers. Mm-hmm. And the one we always forget is Jeff. Jeff may have been the most stylish fighter of the three between Roger, Floyd, and Jeff. And then Floyd Jr. comes in. You go, okay, that's a family that, we can put some belts on the wall for them.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. And what's amazing about the Mayweathers is, unlike with the Spinks, you mentioned about Corey Spinks, he had great examples right in front of him. Right. And he was not shabby when it came to being a championship fighter. I mean, he earned his right to be a champion, and where anytime a person can become a world champion, you got to give them their kudos. But when you think about Floyd, Mayweather Jr. at the time, watching his uncle, watching his dad, and watching his uncles fight, really different types of fighters in their own right? From, Floyd Sr. fought a certain kind of way. Then Uncle Roger fought a certain kind of way.
Right.
Jeff, as you mentioned, was more stylish. And then Floyd to really kind of take all those under his own belt and use them to become what I call the ultimate Mayweather.
Right.
And I think
that's true though.
He respected his uncle so much that there was a little bit of all of them inside of him. But there's still a Mayweather way to the way that they fought. We always talk about the shoulder roll and moving and defense. Dad was a defensive guy. Jeff and Uncle Roger were more of the offensive guys that went on the warpath. And then when they collaborated all together, it's almost like you build a bionic boxer in Floyd Mayweather Jr. They collaborated all together to put it all together. He became the super Mayweather. And he did not disappoint. I mean, so for as much people say, oh yeah, I used to fight too, I'm sure the whole Mayweather family was intrigued because their final finished product is right here, and he's one of the greatest of all time. They had to have some joy in that, and he always made sure they were working too, and taken care of. So he had to be somebody that they really, just love to have as the initial star of their family.
And there's another one in there that as we talk about fighters and fights that we love, and we forget. This is something I always said should have happened, and I know it was never going to happen, but I thought it should have happened. In one of the Juan Manuel Marquez Manny Pacquiao fights, the undercard should have been Rafael Marquez and Bobby Pacquiao. Just because Rafael Marquez, world title holder, Bobby Pacquiao got a couple of shots. I think that would have been a cool thing to have. But again, we've seen that with the Charlos and the Maloneys, that if your brother's fighting on the same card, you tend to lose. Either one of them loses focus, or they're not there to support the other. Now, twins are a different story. I get that, but they're not. I don't think that's always such a good idea to do, even though we like to see it. But we've seen the Charlos that when one lost, the other one's like, oh shit, do I go kick ass or do I commiserate with him? And the Maloney's, I've seen that as well. It's like, all right, I'm even not. I mean, I should be ready for my fight, but I want to be in the corner with him. So it's an interesting way of looking at things.
It is, and maybe like you said, that probably wouldn't be the best idea for them fighting on the same night because it can affect your emotions. One guy is up and then you're like, okay, then my brother just lost and now I'm down. Like you said, what do you have to make the choices? But I think if you keep them separate, then it allows them to be around in the training for the specific person that's fighting on a specific date. And then it also allows them to be focused. So, I'm here supporting my brother.
Right.
Hey, you did a great job. And that it's a novelty. I mean, it's great to have both of them fighting on the same card when they're coming up. But when they're respected champions, then it's like, hey, I can carry my own weight. Let the spotlight shine on just one of us and not trying to make it a clown show or something to that effect.
Which we saw with the Klitschko brothers. Never saw them fight together. They were always in the corner of the other one, but you never fought. I mean, I'll take the WBA and WBC, you take the IBO and the WBF, but whatever, and just go from there. And we're not going to fight each other, but we're also not going to fight on the same card. It's your show today. I got 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, from the standpoint of a promotion standpoint, I mean, you do those things when I think it's early in the careers because you're trying to build up momentum. Hey, look at these two, surefire guys, two brothers, two cousins, whatever, and they're going after. So we're trying to sell tickets. But when you start to become a legitimate force in your division and you become more of a household name in boxing, then it's like, okay, you need to have your own show. I need to have mine. It's great to come together, but yeah, also too, you take away from the money because you have two different pots.
Well, the reason that we kind of got to this is we were talking about, we almost always seem to be talking about the Charlos. So let's transition to that, where we have two Charlo ideas coming up here. One, the younger Charlo, or the younger, smaller, whatever you want to call it, is a rematch with Brian Castano for that belt that was Castano won. That's coming up. What do you think of that? What comes from that fight? Can Castano keep the belt, or is it that was an accident that shouldn't have happened?
I don't know if it's an accident. You got to give Castano a lot of love. I mean, as much as we respect the Charlos, we want to see them in major fights. You can't take away what Castano was able to do. One thing he was able to do, we hadn't seen before, he hurt Charlo. He hurt Jamil Charlo. And it wasn't something where he knocked him down, but you could see that he was more, he was vulnerable.
Right? Backed him up, yeah.
Yeah, and when you saw that, we kind of like, made him droop down a little bit. It happens to the best of them. So with that being said, and Castano seemed like he was fighting a perfect fight. He knew what it took to get inside and take down the strategy of Charlo. And with that being said, anytime a guy puts in that type of effort, you got to respect him. So when you come back to the rematch, it's like, was it a fluke? We don't know, but it happens. We see a lot of people lose fights, but we'll see what Charlo, did he learn from that first fight, right? What did he learn? And now can he adjust to kind of come back and go, yeah, I saw what I need to do and I'm gonna make the adjustment. I'm gonna show you I'm better than him. But yeah, you gotta definitely respect Castano because everything he did was legit, even to the point where he felt like he won the fight.
Well, and that's the thing. It wasn't like it was he just won a split decision because we felt like giving it to him. He won the fight.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's going to argue that other than Charlo. I think that's pretty cool. Now, the other Charlo brother, Jamal, is being set up for...
Yeah, supposedly match up Cinco de Mayo weekend with Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Saul. That's that guy's name. I remember Saul.
Saul Canelo Alvarez, which is really now the face of boxing, according to a lot of people. Standpoint of fighting everybody, went through a whole season, a whole year, basically, of wiping out the super middleweight division at 168, grabbed all the titles and just kind of cleared the division. And very impressive from that standpoint. But yeah, this is a fight we've been waiting on. I mean, a few of us have been talking about it for the longest time because, say, Canelo just kind of took a jump. He did what he had to do at 160, then he flew 168, then he went higher 175. He was all over the place. but we always wanted to see him come back down and face, one of the Charlos and that, or, Benavidez or somebody we thought was a little bit more in his range to possibly give him more of a challenge. And then of course there's all that old, I wouldn't say that old bout that everybody wants to see. The old one is Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, number 3. And it's like, okay, yeah, but how long are you going to wait on Triple G?
Right.
So the fact that why instead of going up to cruiserweight, there were a lot of things talking about that they're literally having negotiations and discussions about Charlo says a lot. I think it says a lot about Canelo, because a lot of people have been pulling that chain. They've been blowing it out, saying, hey, we want to see you. And the fact that they're even talking about it says a lot. And I just hope, there was some talk about, Charlo's trying to be really nonchalant about it, which is cool. But apparently, it's always going to come down to the purse bid, right?
Right. Right.
The balance. How much do I get? That's all well and good. But I hope he doesn't, Charlo that is, price himself out. This is an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
A little different than Bud Crawford talking about he wants whatever against Spinks. This is proven. Canelo has shown you he's the guy. He's shown you he's been able to do this, and the pay-per-views don't lie. So if you're Charlo and you have to kind of take a step back as far as the money is concerned, you do it because if you win, then the world is your oyster. You're on top. You call the shots because now you're the A side because you beat the tough Canelo Alvarez. You beat that guy. I mean, what can people really say? Not much. It's just wow. You finally took down the king of boxing right now.
You finally got your shot. You got to capitalize on it. And we'll know when they get in the ring. I don't know how you can make that comparison right now because they haven't been in the ring with that guy. And you can look good against somebody else, but we know that Alvarez is the guy and Canelo is the guy that everyone's pointing towards. So if you can say you got a shot, you got a shot. If you don't, you don't. And I think the beauty of it is finally Canelo is giving the respect, but the possibility to these guys that haven't had a shot. Like, all right, I'm going to entertain the idea of fighting you, whereas he wasn't entertaining the idea of fighting them before. So I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And plus, too, I think as much as we talk about Canelo bouncing around and fighting, going up to 168 and clearing out the division, I think he literally is running out of places to go.
Right.
I mean, unless you go to all the way up to heavyweight, right? Something like that, you run out of places to go. So in order to kind of really protect that legacy and give it some credence, like we said, it's time to fight some folks. It's time to fight a Charlo, Benavidez. I mean, these are legitimate guys. So we hear you talk, we hear Canelo talk about how great he is, and everybody's talking about how great he is. Let's do that grown man thing, right? You're at that point, you're in the pinnacle of your career. Let's get in here and fight some damn body, and let's show the people that you really are the best against some of the top talent instead of going up. No disrespect to 168, but come on, man. We everybody who watches boxing knows what it is.
Right.
Canelo's the guy. He's on top of it. Yeah, he's running the whole show. Very smart businessman with a smart business team behind him. But man, let's stop the BS and let's get in there with some people that can maybe mark up your face a little bit.
Well, John has rejoined us, and I think he left because he didn't want to get into he wasn't prepared for the famous Boxing Brothers segment, but he's going to have to do that anyway. So I know that you had a chance to think about this. We've gotten rid of the Spinks brothers and Corey Spinks. We've got rid of, well, not brothers, but Floyd Patterson and Tracy Harris Patterson, Mike and Jerry Quarry, the Mayweathers, we got rid of those. So, and the Klitschko. So there, you can run from there. Who is there that we haven't considered of, hey, this is a good family of fighters?
Thanks, Frank. For the last 5 minutes, I was cussing out this freaking computer, and
now we make you think.
Oh my God, you got all the good ones.
That's the obvious ones, yeah.
Let's see.
I also said Juan Manuel Marquez and Rafael Marquez should have fought Manny Pacquiao and Bobby Pacquiao. That never came on. So
I was just going to say Manny and Bobby, so you stole that one from me. Just segue into the Charlo brothers, like you're not.
Well, we already did that, so Charles already covered that, so there's no room for that one either. So we'll just mute you again. That's okay. We don't need you back.
Just get me on the spot here. Wow, it's my unlucky day. Not being put on the spot. I'm not. Nothing's coming out obvious. That well, Canelo and his brother, right? Canelo's got a brother that Raul is his name Raul. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez's brother.
Okay.
There you go. And he lost. And he's lost to just about anybody that's in that upper. So he's I would guess you would call him a journeyman. He's his older brother. Canelo comes from a long line of fighters, right? So yeah, he's the star of the family, obviously, as you guys were just saying. So yeah, his brother wasn't that good. My favorite fighter, Armando Muniz, had a cousin named Oscar Muniz. Now I got it. He fought Jeff Chandler, if you guys remember Jeff Chandler. Now we're going way back in the prehistoric days. And he never won a title, but he was like Armando. He was very, very, very tough. And then I'll say my friend, I guess, because we talk all the time, Carlos Palomino's brother, probably Paul, who unfortunately died in the airplane crash. He was on the Olympic team in 1980. He was, some said he was better than his brother. He was better than Carlos. So, you know, it seems to be a hit and miss with brothers and fathers like Kobe Bryant's, right? Jumpin' Joe Bryant, right? Kobe was better than Jumpin' Joe.
Yeah.
Right, way better. And then Michael Jordan's son played in college, right? So now I'm going all over the place.
Both of them did.
So yeah, it's always like that. And then the latest one, sorry I should say this, the grandson of the greatest.
Fighting in a couple of weeks, yeah.
The last fight was tough. I was like, come on, kid. I mean, you got to learn how to duck a little bit, you know. I mean, he's getting hit with right hands like crazy, and he's not. The minute he fights someone that can really fight, and he's not bad. It's just, and he's working with Sugar Stewart, right? So he's got the best trainer that anyone could. I'm sure other fighters are like, "Jeez, this isn't fair," you know. But he's got the name, of course, right? So. Most people see that as a money thing, and the way ESPN is exploiting it is outrageous. You've seen that, right, you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll admit it. It's making me sick.
It's almost as bad, but not as bad. Almost as bad as when we got Layla Ali and Jackie Frazier. You're like, what in the world? I mean, if on its own merit, if that happens, that happens. But that was just that was disgusting because it had nothing to do with what they were going to do in the ring. And Layla Ali was good.
I was just Layla was good.
But to say, but we're just going to do that and it's going to be something we can make money off of, I just thought was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the Muhammad Ali's grandson fighting like almost right before the main event.
Right.
It's like,
he's almost a co-headliner now, yeah.
That even though it's just because they don't like him. Because it's like, come on, man, you got to pay your dues a little bit here, right? So you couldn't blame a number of other fighters going, I could whip his butt, but he's got all the money. He's making a boatload of money. So unfortunately, he seems like a nice kid and everything. But unfortunately, though, I think he's getting near where going to be fighting Jake Paul or one of those guys.
Why not? Seriously, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, Charles. There's your segue. You've got the Paul brothers as your future champion, so you can talk about them if you want.
I'm going to just say this. I told y'all before, if you haven't seen anything else, and what 2021 showed me, and I'm glad it showed me this, was there's a difference between boxing and boxing entertainment, like we said. And for those that love boxing entertainment, rock on with it. Paul's great, okay. And the most recent thing where now it looks more I would say staged, because I don't want to call it fixed. That's a bad word in gambling and sport. But it looks staged, or it looks like some other things were going on. You want to rock with that? I think the Paul brothers, particularly Jake Paul, is a master marketer.
Sure.
To him, you can convince people by the way you act and the way you get in the ring, and you have a bunch of people following you, and you can make money off of it, and they buy into it and tune in. That's nothing but love. That's like P.T. Barnum. I mean, you roll with it, but for those to sit up here and think that this even work close to real boxing, come on, man. I mean, let's be real about that. And I think we finally saw that. We finally saw that, how things are going. So if you want to keep entertaining other fighters that used to be fighters that could have fought somebody and they're older, rock on with it. But nah, there's no way that they should confuse the two. The only one thing I'll say, if I get off this real quick, is this. The one, and I think this shows you how much of a promoter / silent marketer Jake Paul is, and I can't call her name off the top of my head, but the young lady that he has under his wing, that's a female boxer that's ready to fight your, was that Katie Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, ready to fight her, is phenomenal. I love her as a boxer. So for as much as I complain about the boxing entertainment, whatever, this young lady deserves her shot. She deserves to be seen. And I love that she's getting the opportunity. In fact, I even pay more attention to her when she's fighting on the card than I do Jake Paul.
Amanda Serrano. They talk about
Right.
She deserves it. And I'm not sure she's
really good, yeah. Really good.
Well, that's the one positive out of that for me.
Here, and you go into P.T. Barnum. Here's the thought, that if you can get more eyes on the sport, and we've been talking for years, is boxing dying, is boxing not dying, blah, 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 blah. If you can get more eyes on the sport, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying this is.
Can we stop real quick? Don't do that. Don't do that.
Please, don't even say that again.
No,
let me just say this, and I'm just saying, I know you're going to talk about it, but when you say, it's almost like, I don't know, it just it rubs me the wrong way, because it's like
nails on a chalkboard. Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. You wouldn't have known Amanda Serrano without that. That's my point. That's all I'm saying is, for people that don't normally watch boxing, this may be a way to. This isn't something I want to see. I don't want to see Frank Gore against Darren Williams. I don't want to see that. Don't throw that shit in my face. But if I'm not a boxing fan, that may be something that brings me to the sport. You gotta dance with the devil every now and then. You know, it's the same thing as saying, now we have a fight made with Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Do I want to see that? I don't think so.
Yes.
But if I'm someone who has fallen out of favor with boxing, and I remember those two names, it may be something I tune in, and then there might be a card on there that I want to see. There might be a bout on there that I will learn something about somebody. It's not always perfect, because, and again, I'm not saying I agree with that we should have a Paul fight every other month, and no, that's not what I'm saying. But it's the possibility of, if boxing is out there and it's treated as boxing, more people will be involved in boxing.
Can I just say one thing?
Please, go ahead.
The only thing I'm saying is, and this is just me, it has nothing to do with the show. Everybody else has.
You kids, get off my lawn.
Yeah, everybody has. I'll be the old man. But it's just like, I think there's room for both of them. And I'm glad, Amanda Serrano is getting that opportunity. But to me, it's clear cut. Entertainment boxing, the Americans and all the cats, it's over here, man. It's over here. Boxing's over here, bro. It just, I mean, I'm glad she's getting an opportunity. You said more people are coming and watching boxing and bringing new eyes to it. It's all well and good. But there's no, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't want these new people or other people that are involved in it to be confused.
Right. Sure.
Because now that's when the critics come out and go, you see the clown show boxing has?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I agree.
And I'm like, nah, because we got some, you're doing and even some of the Tank Davises in the world, Gervonta Davis will tell you, I don't adhere to that, what they call BS. they're going like, you're doing a disservice to the guys that really put the work in, come in and put all the training camps and putting their lives on the line, knowing that there's a chance they could get stopped because this is another equally talented guys. So for everything that I say about Jake Paul being a great marketer, to me, it's doing a disservice, but they don't care what I think because I'm just one dude. But you're doing a disservice to really what is true boxing. And that's why I said that boxing is still relevant and we're showing it. Because you tell me it's not, you still, when somebody says it's still dead, there's no way in hell you can tell me, and I get out this soapbox right now off this. I'm gonna come down here. So I get out the box after I say this. There's no way in hell you can tell me that the fight of the year last year, Fury versus Wilder 3, was not pure excitement. That was boxing. And that's all I'm gonna say. That was
okay. And to play devil's advocate for just a second, because I'm with you, I understand that. But let's say that you were able to put together Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields on a card with one of the Paul brothers. Now, I'm just saying these ladies deserve some pub and some love, and they're not getting it, in my estimation, doing this in a conventional way. Now, Clarissa Shields is on the Joe Smith Jr. bout card, I believe, and
Katie Taylor's getting it.
Yeah, you know, and we know, but does the average fight fan know? And that's the conundrum. Are we supposed to educate them, or are they supposed to find it? Or they just are supposed to find it, where are they going to find it? That's the thing. And there's the debate. I'm not saying one way is right or wrong, but there's the debate.
Well, the thing I don't like about it is pretty much what Charles was saying, is the people that watch the Pauls, they think that's all there is to this.
Sure. I get it, right.
The part that I don't like, the great fighters from the past, the great fighters from now, get diminished because of bozos. Now, these bozos are great marketers. It's America. You can, but I don't have to like it. I can respect it because of the fact that they're bringing, but what they are to me, and this is just my old man opinion, they're bringing in a lot of negativity into it.
Sure.
Right, I'm gonna take my teeth out and start yelling at you right now. What the hell do you think you're doing? But stop disrespecting my sport there. What do you think you're doing? I just really, where's the spittoon? I just think that's the part that gets me, where I had a debate with a guy because barely anybody pays much attention other than me, but Max Boxing has absolutely no coverage of the Pauls.
Sure, I agree. And I when we bring it up, I usually say, why? Why am I talking about it? But it's got legs, and it's something that I'm thinking about something else off of it. For example, did we talk about, even consider the fact that Floyd Mayweather Jr. was fighting Conor McGregor?
I don't remember us talking about it. I didn't have it in boxing at all. No, that was another one.
Did we have any conversation about that at all? On publicly?
No. I don't remember.
Because we knew it wasn't a boxing match. Right? Now, if we look back on that fight, and I was in the arena or near the arena when that was going on, and how many people were here for that fight? Now, did they watch the undercard? I don't know. Did they become fight fans after that? I don't know. But it drew. And if you can get 8% of those people to become fight fans, this is advertising, publicity, marketing. It doesn't always have to be pretty, but you're trying to get people in. And it's a numbers bracket, unfortunately. So, yeah, I don't agree that these guys are out there, but they're there. And if we can use them to manipulate the system, do so. But again, I don't want to be a part of it. But the powers that be, if they're trying to get something out of that, okay. If they're not, then screw it. No, there's no need to do it at all.
Real quick, see, I think what happens is people like the event. People go to the event. And this turned in, because of Conor McGregor's trash talk, and it turned into an event.
Right.
So 5 minutes later, they forgot all about it. You say, hey, there's going to be a fight on Thursday night. who's fighting? I don't know who they are. That's why I'm saying it hurts it for an old man like me as far as the legacy. Boxing doesn't have a lot of respect for itself anyway, if you really want to get critical about it. They're like, it's all money. It's all money to them. So, yeah, intellectually I get it, but for being a traditionalist, it bugs me. But even the greatest, he engaged in that, whatever that was with that wrestler, and it hurt him. He got kicked in the legs so many times he ended up in the hospital. So it is a sideshow at times, but I think ultimately Chuck Wepner fighting Andre the Giant, I think it ultimately just hurts the sport, but the sport really doesn't care. So it makes you you define. What I do is I define my own line. I say, nope, Max is not having anything on the Pauls. We're not having anything on Floyd Mayweather when he went to Japan. There was no coverage about that. Nothing about his fight with the smaller Paul. So I do that. But the ring, boxing scene, all them, they all cover everything.
There's the problem, right?
Yes. So
masters of boxing should be.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Charles. Now we mentioned events, and you've been to the Super Bowl. How many people do you think, just off the top of your head, what percentage of people are there to watch the game? And what percentage of people are there for the event that is called the Super Bowl?
Wow. Probably, I want to say 30%, man. 30%.
Are there for the game?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, because as we build it up as such a huge event that, ever been to a Super Bowl party with people that, oh, yeah, it's going to be great, and they know nothing about football? They don't care to know anything about football, and they're watching the commercials. And you're going, why are we here with these people?
And I say 30% because I say 30%.
I think that's high, but okay.
Well, I say 30% because I think 30% is because those are the people that actually get to go to the game.
Okay.
I think a lot of people they're involved in the game and excited about watching it happen and unfold. But 30% of the people, when I've been there, that were there to go to the game. The other 70% are the people that they're interested in the game, they love it, but it's still, I guess my point is, it's a little different for me. Being interested in the game, but still not being able to attend.
Right.
It's still part of the event.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
So because you're not being there is a whole different ballgame. Because I tell people, you go to the Super Bowl and you go to the game, you're all excited about it, been there a few times. And as a media person, the only thing I loved about it was the fact that when you're sitting on the rest of the world waiting, this is why I'm spoiled, waiting on the rest of the world, waiting for the game to come back on, we don't have to worry about commercials because there's always some other TVs going on in the media,
right,
wherever you're at. But the people, though, really were indie, so they're about the event. So they're like, yeah, I love the Super Bowl, and you just want to be around friends and whatever. So unless you're there, sometimes it's even, I said this to this point now, maybe because I'm old and I've done a lot of stuff, is I prefer watching it events at home. I told you, I shouldn't be saying this because I ain't gonna get no more credentials. Anyway, I'm not even gonna say that. Anyway, but what I was gonna say, but you just—
well, except for fights. I love to see fights in person.
Right, so fights are great, but sometimes it's best to watch stuff outside or whatever at home, unless you're working. That's just me.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I understand. And that's, I did the Duke Gonzaga game out here, and there weren't a lot of media people there, at least in the section I was in, because it was 9,000 rows up in the skybox. And I ended up watching the entire thing on TV because I couldn't see the court from where I was. Now, I don't have the muscle that you guys have where you sit down on the court and be able to be in the, sit on the bench and, swap sweat with Coach K. But, but the idea being, it's like, yeah, I was asked this question when I was the guru of sports bars. So the Wall Street Journal named me a few years ago, which, if you understand it, it was just they got a hold of the website and was like, really, me? And I was quoted in the Wall Street Journal, which it's a big deal if you actually are quoted in the Wall Street Journal for something, but it wasn't for me because they didn't know. Anyway, they probably reached out to a bunch of people and didn't return the phone call. Anyway, the question was Super Bowl, because of the advents of flat screen, big screen TVs, where fewer people going to sports bars as opposed to watching it at home. And I'm supposed to come up with an educated answer to that. I didn't really have one. But I said, well, it depends on the person. Some people want to go out to the bar and be at the bar, be with people, be with like-minded fans, paint their face and all that stuff, and drink their faces off and have something to eat. Others prefer to watch it at home where they can control their environment. There's no right or wrong with it, but like you said, watching the game live, unless you've got fantastic seats, is usually harder to do than watching at home. You don't have replay, you don't get the right angles, you don't get the right view. I go back to my first seats at the Ohio State University for football games. And when I think those were my freshman year. And when we got to the stadium, we thought these are the best seats in the world. It was on the 5-yard line, 3 yards up, or 3 rows up. You can't get any better than that. We're going to see touchdowns. We have the whole panorama view of the whole stadium. And then when the game starts, you realize at that point it was natural grass. There was a crown of the stadium, so you could only see half the field. You couldn't see the other sideline. And then the opposing band came and sat right in front of us. We spent the entire season looking at the back of the band. Didn't see a not our band, their band, yeah. So didn't see a play all year, basically. Now, of course, we might have had an adult beverage or two before and after the game. So, and you got to, at that point, you could watch it on WSU the next day or that night. So you still got to see the game, but there was the event, the experience. And what I see with boxing right now is it's a twofold thing. Charlo Canelo would be an event, but also be a boxing match. And I think that's what we're hopefully trying to build up. Gary Russell Jr. is a boxing match right now because you can't make an event out of it. He's not fighting a named fighter, or if there's a named fighter to fight. So John, how do we get back to that? This is must-see TV because it's must-see, not because we've just pumped it up.
Well, I think you got to have more prime A matchups. Spence and Crawford would be an event. Right. Now, a lot of people wouldn't agree because they say Crawford can only put his own family in the seats. He can't sell any other tickets, right? I know. That's
cool, but that's the man we're talking about, right?
Aaron would say, so I was just going off what Bob Aaron would say. And that's not fair on Crawford. You know that. Forever. So that's it's an event to a boxing person like us. But who's going to promote it? Errol Spence is a very quiet guy. Terrence Crawford is a very quiet guy. See, that's what the genius. We say this, talk about it every week, but that's what made Muhammad Ali a genius. He made even his minor fights events.
Right.
Because he is such a great promoter, also as a fighter, he had both greatness and marketability promoting greatness. So he didn't need anybody else. He did it all. So you don't have anybody, even Canelo and Charlo. Canelo is the top guy, but would people be buzzing around Vegas talking about it? Not really.
I'm not sure that the average person or even the average fight fan can tell you which one is which.
Right.
I get it mixed up. Which one's Jamel? Which one's Jamal? Oh, I want which one is fighting in which division. I get it screwed up all the time, and I'm supposed to know.
Exactly, and so 2022 has to have. That's the only way you're going to find out if you can make like Tyson Fury. He's an English Muhammad Ali in the sense that he's a great promoter. So whoever he fights next, it's going to be something that a lot of people want to see because of him. He turns it into about him and his opponent. And this is what Muhammad Ali did a lot of times. Is his opponent was even secondary unless he was fighting Joe Frazier or George Foreman or somebody like that or Jerry Quarry. So you're going to have to match the fights that the people want. We all want the Charlo-Canelo fight. So then it's going to be up to them, the promoters, to promote it. Put it on TV, put it on the radio, run the commercials. They do it sometimes, but they always wait too long. So I think it's all about the fights this year. You've got some really good matchups if you want to make them. Unless you want to stay in the middle of the pack like we are right now and have an occasional blip. And if you're Canelo, real fast, stop worrying about all the belts, man. I mean, you're worried about your legacy. Fight somebody that's going to give you a fight. They get wrapped up in all these trinkets. You know, they can barely walk in the ring. They got so many belts all around them. You know, I think they all love the belts. I get it, but at some point you got to fight somebody that's really going to fight you back hard, and that is Charles.
All right, Charles. To wrap this up, let's look at where we're at in the state of boxing right now. Let's not overdo this, but as we've been talking about what we need, what we have, what can come up. This is the 4th year we've been doing this, and if people don't realize that, yeah, we're embarking on year 4. Are we better off now, boxing wise, now than we were 4 years ago?
Wow. So
I'll give you a simple question.
Yeah, 2018. I would say, I want to say no. But then you got to think with the pandemic and all that other stuff too. So I'm going to say no with an asterisk.
Okay.
Like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame, even though they was
no Hall of Famers this year, so you can't even talk about
right,
this.
But I'm just saying, the asterisk, they should be there. And the asterisk is
I'd help people.
Yeah, the asterisk is because I think he has the potential though to be better. The reason why I say that is because the movement at like I said before, 126 to 140 is amazing. 47 has some things too for us that we definitely want to see. But the movement of talent and the influx of new talent at 126 and 140, where people are moving a lot of parts there, I think it has the potential to really, I wouldn't say put boxing back on the map, but it can provide a serious influx of energy. Because these talented individuals, even though everybody, they may not be household names to some, the average boxing person, the new boxing person, and the biggest boxing fans will be intrigued because of the talent. It's almost like for as much as we talked about Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, right? People knew about it, but you still didn't know enough about, we saw a little bit about Thomas Hearns, unless you're from Detroit. And let's be real about that. He wasn't on the Olympic team.
Right.
He was a major, you've seen knocked out Pepino Cuevas, but he was a major.
And who knew who Pepino Cuevas was?
Yeah. That's what I wanted.
Right.
But these guys coming up, so talented. And there's so many of them that even if you don't do a tournament, it can make for fireworks, a lot of energy, a lot of people going, yeah, I want to see that. Did you see that guy? I want to see that. And I think that's why I said it's an asterisk. It's not maybe as strong as it was before in 2018, 4 years ago, but it has the potential to have a firestorm where it comes back to a more than great thing to watch.
And by no means did I mean to spit on Pepino Cuevas. I'm just saying that the average fan didn't know who he was. Right. Okay.
Right.
John, what do you think?
Well, I think that it's the same, and that's what's been so frustrating. Boxing has been the same for a number of years. It was just kind of going along like this, and then it has a jump, and then it drops down again, and then it levels off, and that is extremely frustrating. And I think the only way, because all these guys that we talk about, the smaller guys, again, who really knows them other than people that really follow the sport? The only way I think that it ever ascends upward like it once was, to a degree, never to where it was with Muhammad Ali and all those guys, George Foreman, is a heavyweight. I mean, I sincerely believe that. A Mike Tyson type, a Muhammad Ali type, a type that is not. Tyson was a destroyer, so everybody loved that, and they marketed him great. So you got to have both. And then Muhammad Ali did it with everything else. Jared Anderson, the guy that I'm talking about all the time, is trying to channel a little Muhammad Ali. We don't know how good he is yet. So you would have to get a heavyweight, and then he can carry everyone else up in a sense, because then people will get more interested to maybe, you're talking about that 8%. If we get a heavyweight who's great, I use that word loosely, as we know, and then they put our younger guys, smaller guys on his card, it brings them up. asking for a lot, though. See, I don't see it. 2022 could be a great year if they make the fights that I'm talking about. But as far as comparing 2021 or right now in 2017, that's why it's not improved, because it's just the same. It's just, we're all frustrated. We're not getting the fights. It's like walking on a treadmill. You're never getting anywhere.
Well, I think what happens, and you mentioned something perfectly. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there. How many fights had Mike Tyson had when you saw your first Mike Tyson fight? Just roughly. Was it 12? Was it 2? Was it 18? When you first saw Mike Tyson in the ring, how many fights did he have? And I'm not sure, but I'm going to say it was like 9. Something like that.
That was less than 10. I saw him on ESPN. I think it was his 7th or 8th fight, something like that. He was fighting every 2 or 3 weeks, like the old years.
Right. And my point with that is ESPN, and of course ESPN was different back then than it is now. They were trying to find a foothold in something. They were on boxing. And so we're going to show boxing. This is the guy we're going to showcase, and he has eventually become heavyweight champion of the world, and that's it. I think Fox or PBC or whoever tried to do the same thing with the Charlos for a couple of months there, a couple of years there, and went, it just ain't happening. And then haven't heard from them. But that was, every fight was on there. Now, again, they were also 28 years old at that point, but that's what they did. The problem that we have, in my opinion, is we don't have an outlet dedicated to the sport. I know we said the zone, that's what it was supposed to have been. They didn't follow up on that, in my opinion, correctly. There were too many problems with how they did things, and then they didn't have any fights. And, of course, pandemic means you don't have any fights to carry. I get that. But they didn't do what they said they were going to do to cultivate a fight fan. We have a history of fights, and it's 3 guys. Really? You can't go back and find me a Marvin Hagler fight? No. You can't go find me a Floyd Patterson fight? No. But that's what I want. We don't have access to that. But you said you had all the stuff. So that kind of thing. And I know we're not going back to free TV and CBS Sports Spectacular and Wild World Sports. I know that. But one would think with the plethora, there's one of my favorite words, of TV shows and TV channels or satellite or cable or internet, whatever ways, stream, non-stream, plugged in, cordless, whatever, all these things we have, and all the specialty channels we have. We have a channel that has Christmas romance movies on all year. We can't find a boxing channel that actually has boxing on all year. And I know that's, again, what we thought the zone was going to be, but we don't have access to these guys until it's either too late or they flame out or we don't get them in an undercard. So I think the way it should be done, and if someone wants to donate, $47 million to the Ultimate Sports Network, I'll be more than happy to put it together. Just make it rain for a couple of seconds. That the idea is this is the sport we're going to cover. And if they're fighting in Poughkeepsie and it's somebody that we need to see, we'll get it. Like the ESPN did, we'll cover whatever we can. But right now, we don't get guys on the airwaves until they're either established or they're ready to become unestablished. We saw Richard Comey. When was the last time? When did we see Richard Comey before that? How many Richard Comey fights did we get before he was either a contender or a non-contender? 2, 3? Again, maybe we didn't need to see Richard Comey. I'm just saying, those are the kind of guys who went, we should have seen Richard Comey 5 years ago, 8 years ago. And
we see Muhammad Ali's grandson who...
Exactly, right. So
an example that is.
That's the example. So when do we get to see these guys as up-and-comers and we get to latch on to them? Now, again, is every fight fan going to fall in love with it? No. But if you promote let's say we get the Bud Crawford-Errol Spence fight, and you say, this is the fight, this is it. You buy this, you get boom, boom, boom. And we're going to promote the undercard almost as hard as we're going to promote the fight. Now, is everyone going to take 6 hours out of the day to watch it? Maybe, maybe not. But at least you have it. You bought the fight, it's there. Not you watch this on regular something, and then you go over here, and then there's going to be wrestling in between that, and then you go watch the real thing. Too many chances for people to get lost. So, I don't know. I think, like John said, I think we're almost even, but it's because of different stuff. But it's not, when I said it was dying, it's recovered from that. It's not on life support anymore, but it could be so much better. So there's my soapbox moment. I'm off.
Life support.
Anyway, so Charles, close the show for us, please.
Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about a lot of things here today. Just wanted to make sure that you stay tuned. If you have anything you want us to focus on, definitely come up and give us a jingle, or if you can't call us, find out. Send us a note. Let us know.
I ain't answering the phone, so send an email.
So send an email. But really, real talk here, real boxing talk. Just want to tell you that this is very important to us. We have fun with it, but we also want to, really take time to let you know we care. We do. We care. Oh my God, we care. We care. And we care about what you think, but we also care about having a great show. So there's a lot of people out there that are putting out shows and they're reading off stuff off cue cards and they're reading stuff back. No disrespect to them, because money is the hustle, marketing is hustling. But there are those out there that are giving you entertainment and talk about boxing, but we're telling you the way it is, and we're gonna give it to you straight from the cuff. And we don't have the producers and stuff that other people do. Other people just reading stuff off of cue cards and have you send us Bitcoin for that too. You can do that too as well. But with all that being said, closing out the show, let you know we're dedicated to what we're doing. We think it's important, it's fun to us, and we take pride in providing a different perspective that you may not hear from other people. So I think it's something that you should tune in. I would. That's real talk. If I wasn't here, I would be listening to us. I actually would pay for it because I think it's solid of people to have an idea to what's going on. So I digress to say thank you for watching. 2022, we're back, better than ever. Going to do more better things. Who knows, one day you might turn around and you might see us live from Las Vegas. A live show where all three of us are together on the scene talking live boxing. That's the real deal. Coming to you soon. Stay tuned, baby.
Live from Fred's Soup Kitchen. Okay. It's funny because if he says he's going to pay for it, I've known him 30 years, he ain't paid for squat yet. So that's another story entirely. I'm joking.
Like one of my ex-girlfriends.
I have jokes.
Let me say
I'm
this.
making a
like
joke.
One of my ex-girlfriends.
I
was always told this. If you at the show, if I got you in third row of the seat and everybody else is watching on TV or in the rafters, you had the audacity talk about how I got the damn ticket. There is something wrong with you. You need to check your and your morals. So,
you know what I want to do with you, Frank? You love to put us on the spot. I want you to be on our spot. I'm going to ask you some questions that put you on the spot one of these days.
Sure. If I tap dance very well. I'm the Fred Astaire of sports. I'll just give it to me. Gene Kelly, because I got a little more athleticism in my game. But anyway.
We'll see about that, Mr. Gordon. Wow. Challenge.
I just drew a blank. I was going to go from Gregory Hines and his brother, the Hines brothers, and I drew a blank on who I wanted to use. And the Nicholas brothers, that's who it was. I'm one of the Nicholas brothers. Anyway, the idea being this, folks, we get a kick out of this. And what we didn't say was we were supposed to start this show at a particular time, and we talked an hour and a half before the show about other stuff, which was very important to us, and heavy duty stuff. But it was like we get a kick out of it. So please give your comments, and then I'm going to say something blasphemous in this day and age. Don't like something you didn't actually watch. Watch it and then like it. Don't just say, "Oh, do great drop," and hit the like button. That does nothing for us. Now, do we want to get likes? Sure. But we want likes for stuff that you actually are invested in. So this is my senior moment of people, the way the social media works now, is that people will post a show, and 8 minutes after it's been posted, "Oh man, great show, I loved it." It's like, you couldn't have watched the whole thing. It was an hour and 12 minutes. So that's my own personal little bugaboo there, but I'll get over it one of these days. But folks, yeah, they're going to put. I tell you, we're going to flip the script next week. We're going to have you guys host, and I'll sit here and pretend like I know what I'm talking about. We'll see how much I can dance and not talk, make it sound like I know what I'm talking about and not say anything at all. So, all right, we've been at this for a while. Thank you very much. Yes, happy 2022. Stay safe, be cool, and we will talk to you soon. And I'm just looking at the recording button. We didn't record it. No, I'm just kidding. Bye-bye.